Hey, Danielle, and anybody else that might be watching this answered questions. This is a great question, Danielle. I want everybody to hear the answer to this. So you are working on identifying trends and needs for your students here in component 4. And one thing that is very prevalent is the need for post-pandemic social emotional support for students. Since we are going to be using these needs to create a plan for the latter parts of this profile, do you think that mentioning a social emotional need probably isn't a good idea since it is not very measurable? Or what are your thoughts on that? Hey, that's like a loaded question that's definitely been coming down since, the pandemic and we're back in school, and it's an obvious thing that we're seeing children's social emotional skills have dwindled. They just haven't been practicing them, right? All right, so what are my thoughts on it for component 4? I see this happen all the time. I see teachers clearly find evidence of a social emotional need. Most of it is subjective in that parents have said things about it. Other teachers have noticed the immaturity, the disorganization, the lack of executive functioning skills, all of those things that really kind of actually elicit a lot of this immature type emotional behavior that we've seen that isn't maybe age appropriate. So, but at the same time, when you look at formative assessments and then moving from formative assessment to self-assessment to summative assessment, which is pretty much how you're proving your ability to teach and adjust instruction through component 4. What's your experience with writing goals to social emotional learning to meet those needs? What is your experience for formative assessments that you might use for the goals that you've written for social emotional learning? What is your experience with self-assessment? I mean, that's probably pretty easy for social emotional, but then what summative assessment do we take to then show growth from the formative to the summative for those social emotional goals? I think the issue that many times teachers find with this is there becomes so much gray, because it's like, ooh, are these goals strong enough? Do these goals have rigor? Can you truly measure and see from formative to summative the growth that students have had? Now, special education teachers would argue with me that absolutely, and I would argue for them, absolutely, that's a huge part of what special education teachers do. Many times it is for preschool as well. I mean, wow, preschool teachers are the ones that actually begin to teach social emotional skills in our children when they don't have them. So they know how to formatively assess and summatively assess. But in your position right now, what would you do? How would you get it across and show it clearly that your students have these particular needs? You're setting goals for those. You're formatively assessing that. Throughout, you're doing self-assessment, and then you're at the end summatively saying, look, here's the proof that we've met those needs. The kids have gained knowledge toward the goals or action toward the goals. That's really the thing. So this answer is kind of politically correct. I don't really have the exact answer for you, but maybe I prompted your thinking about, wow, yeah, what's my superpower as far as looking at information from my students here, and where do I have the experience with the assessment? Okay, so nothing wrong at all with having social emotional needs inside the group profile. Nothing wrong at all about that you see those patterns and themes. The deal is, though, when you move into the unit, it may or may not be right for you for your unit. Danielle, great question. Thanks for asking. Bye.